They tell you greatness follows power. They never tell you who terrified power itself. You are taught that Rome fell slowly through decadence, corruption, and internal decay. You are not taught that Rome once faced total annihilation by a single commander. That commander did not come from Europe. He came from North Africa. In 218 BCE, Roman records quietly acknowledged an impossible event. An enemy army entered Italy from the north with war elephants in winter. The Senate had dismissed that route as impassable. They were wrong. This story is not a legend, exaggeration, or nationalist pride. It is assembled from Roman archives, battlefield reports, and surviving time. Every step can be traced. If this holds, Rome's dominance was never inevitable. It was once seconds from collapse. Imagine an African general so effective that Rome feared his name for 15 years. Not once, not briefly. For a generation, he did not raid borders. He did not threaten from afar. He lived inside Rome's world and dismantled it piece by piece. This is Hannibal Barca, and the world was not ready. The year is 247 BC. The Mediterranean balance of power has just shifted violently. Carthage has lost the First Punic War. Carthage was not defeated lightly. It was economically bled through punitive reparations and territorial seizure. Rome demanded tribute that strained even Carthage's vast commercial wealth. Carthage stood on African soil. It had done so for over 6 centuries. Its population blended Phoenician settlers with indigenous North African peoples. Berber and Numidian communities shaped their armies, politics, and daily life. This was not a fringe colony. It was a continental power. In this moment of humiliation, a child is born. His name is Hannibal Barca. His father is Hannibal Barca. Hamilcar is not defeated in spirit. He is defeated in the outcome. Romeas won but not convinced him. Ancient sources describe a defining moment. Hamilcar brings his young son to a sacred altar. There, Hannibal swears hostility toward Rome. This oath is not theatrical mythology. It is consistent across hostile Roman historians. They remember because it frightened. Hannibal grows within the aftermath of loss. Carthage rebuilds quietly, methodically, and deliberately. Its recovery begins in Iberia. Iberia provides silver, manpower, and strategic depth. It also removes Carthage from Rome's immediate reach. Hamilcar takes Hannibal with him. Hannibal did not grow up in palaces. He grows up among camps, supply trains, and multilingual soldiers. This matters later. He learns command through exposure, not inheritance. He learns Numidian cavalry doctrine from those who perfected it. He learns alliance management across cultures. Carthaginian armies are not uniform. They are federations held together by leadership. Hannibal learns how to keep them loyal. When Hamilcar dies, the command does not collapse. It transfers through trust. Hannibal remains embedded in the system. By his mid-20s, he had already proven battlefield competence. When his brother-in-law falls, the army chooses Hannibal. Not Carthage's council. Rome notices immediately. They remember him. They remember the oath. In 218 BCE, Hannibal forced Rome into a strategic dilemma. War is inevitable. The question is where. Rome assumes Iberia or Africa. Naval superiority supports that assumption. Land invasion does not. Hannibal rejects expectations. He chooses Italy directly. This choice is not impulsive. It is calculated against Roman psychology. Rome does not defend the impossible. Between Hannibal and Italy stand the Pyrenees, hostile Gallic territories, and the Alps. No large army had crossed the Alps successfully before, especially not with elephants. Roman intelligence reports the plan. The Senate dismisses it. Winter will kill him. They conclude. This dismissal is Rome's first error. It will not be the last. Hannibal begins to march in spring. He moves deliberately, not quickly. Negotiations precede combat. Gallic tribes do not uniformly resist him. Some watch carefully. Others assist quietly. By autumn, the Alps loom ahead. The ascent begins under worsening conditions. Terrain replaces armies as the primary enemy. Ancient accounts describe narrow paths and collapsing trails. Losses mount through exposure and accidents. Morale strains but does not break. Elephants struggle, but they moba. Men unfamiliar with snow adapt or perish. Hannibal remains visible throughout. Leadership matters here. He does not disappear behind guards. He shares the conditions. When the army descends into Italy, it is diminished. It is also legendary. Rome did not believe this was possible. Hannibal enters the Po Valley with roughly 30,000 effectives. Roman soil has been breached. Panic begins quietly. Rome dispatches forces to intercept him. They expect exhaustion. They encounter precision. At the Trebia River, Hannibal engineers conditions. Terrain, weather, and timing favor him. Roman confidence becomes vulnerability. The Roman army collapses under coordinated pressure. This is not luck, it is preparation. At Lake Trasimene, fog becomes an ally. A Roman column walks into concealment. The result is irreversible. Thousands are lost in hours. Rome has now suffered defeats inside Italy that has never happened before. Fear spreads upward, not outward. The Senate reacts with emergency measures. Yet misunderstanding persists. Rome assumes Hannibal seeks a decisive collapse through intimidation. They believe mass will solve the problem. They raised the largest army in their history. In 216 BCE, Rome assembled approximately 86,000 men. The consuls share command. Unity is assumed. Hannibal faces them near Cannae. He does not retreat. He studies. His formation appears flawed. His center is intentionally elastic. His flanks are immovable. This is not a weakness. It is architecture. The Roman advance behaves exactly as predicted. They press the center. They commit deeper. Roman cavalry on the flanks collapses early. Numidian riders dominate mobility. The Roman infantry does not notice. As the center yields, Roman density increases. Movement becomes restricted. Command dissolves. African infantry pivots inward. Cavalry returns from the rear. The geometry closes. This maneuver will later be named. At the time, it is simply a disaster. The Roman army is surrounded. The outcome is not cinematic. It is procedural. Order replaces chaos. By evening, tens of thousands are lost. Roman leadership is decapitated. Survivors flee without formation. News reaches Rome slowly. Denial follows briefly, then silence. Rome does not surrender. It cannot, but it is broken psychologically. Hannibal does not march on Rome. This decision will be debated for centuries. It is not hesitation. Rome's walls are strong. His supply base is not infinite. He chooses attrition through allies. For 15 years, Hannibal remains in Italy. Rome never defeats him in open battle. Never. Instead, Rome adapts. It avoids confrontation. It starves his alliances. Eventually, Carthage recalls him, not in triumph, in desperation. Hannibal loses the final war. History remembers outcomes more than processes. Rome writes the record. Centuries later, another distortion begins. European scholarship reframes the past. Africa is minimized. Carthage becomes Mediterranean, not African. Hannibal becomes abstract, then altered. His context fades. This is not accidental. It is structural. Power curates memory. Yet Roman historians never denied his brilliance. De Fiori d'Italiano. They documented it. An African general forced Rome to reinvent warfare. That fact remains unchanged. Records confirm it. The question is not whether Hannibal existed. It is why his identity unsettles later narratives. That tension persists. Hannibal Barca did not need myth. He produced measurable outcomes. Rome survived him by learning from him. That is the legacy Rome preferred to soften, and the one history must restore. He stands on the battlefield at Cannae, victorious, untouchable, seemingly invincible. Military academies still examine the Battle of Cannae more than 2 millennia later. They study it because it remains structurally flawless, not brave, not lucky, perfect. Hannibal did not simply defeat an army that day. He dismantled a system of warfare that Rome believed was unbeatable. Double envelopment was not named yet, but it was executed with absolute clarity. After Cannae, Rome does not recover quickly. It survives slowly, carefully, fearfully. For the next 15 years, Hannibal remains inside Italy, not as a raider, as a permanent strategic presence. He does not besiege Rome. He understands his limitations. Walls require numbers he does not possess. Carthage does not send reinforcements. Internal politics fracture unity. Resources are exhausted from decades of war. Hannibal adapts. He stays. He pressures Rome indirectly. Every Roman decision must account for him. Every harvest, every road, every allied city. Rome sends commanders with new titles and new authority. They promise solutions. They fail. When Rome avoids battle, Hannibal devastates the supply regions. When Rome engages, Hannibal controls the outcome. Victory remains elusive for the Republic. This is not a single campaign. It is prolonged psychological containment. Rome is trapped inside its own territory. Roman writers later admit the truth indirectly. They feared engagement. They feared pursuit. They feared him. Eventually, Rome chooses avoidance as doctrine. This becomes known later as strategic delay. At the time, it is desperation. Rome stops trying to defeat Hannibal directly. Instead, it studies him quietly, obsessively, A new Roman commander rises. During this period, his name is Publius Cornelius Scipio. He watches carefully. Scipio does not chase Hannibal. He studies patterns. He studies logistics. Rome makes a final gamble. They will not remove Hannibal from Italy. They will force him to leave. Roman forces cross into North Africa. Carthage itself becomes vulnerable. The threat is existential. In 202 BCE, Hannibal returned home. He leaves Italy undefeated in open battle. 15 years after arriving, the return is not triumphant. It is necessary. Time has taken its toll. At Zama, Hannibal faces Scipio. This is not youth against age. It is the student against the teacher. Scipio applies lessons learned from defeat. He disrupts formations. He neutralizes elephants. He anticipates maneuver. The battle is close. Outcomes shift repeatedly, but momentum changes. Numidian cavalry no longer supports Hannibal. They have aligned with Rome. This alters the balance decisively. For the first time, Hannibal loses a major engagement, not through incompetence, through accumulated disadvantage. Carthage surrenders. Terms are severe. Its military independence ends. Hannibal does not remain in power. Rome does not allow it. His presence alone is destabilizing. He leaves Carthage voluntarily. Exile becomes survival. Rome continues watching. 4 years, Roman envoys have tracked him across kingdoms, Bithynia, Seleucid territories. Everywhere he goes, pressure follows. Rome cannot tolerate his existence. Not because he threatens again, because he already did. In 183 BCE, Roman agents closed in. Hannibal understands the moment. He does not resist capture. Ancient accounts describe a final decision. He chooses death over spectacle, control over submission. His final statement is recorded by Roman writers. Even they preserve his composure. Even they remember his defiance. With Hannibal gone, Rome feels relieved, but not closure. That comes later. In 146 BCE, Rome returned to Carthage. This is not a battle. It is an erasure. The city is captured after prolonged resistance. Its population is killed or enslaved. Its political existence ends. Carthage is dismantled deliberately. Structures are destroyed. Archives vanish. Later legends claim the land was salted. That detail is symbolic, not literal. But the intent was clear. Rome wanted Carthage forgotten, not defeated. Removed from memory, this strategy nearly works. Almost everything known about Carthage survives through Roman authors, through enemies. Carthaginian records do not survive independently. Their voices are absent, their perspective erased. And yet, Hannibal's reputation persists, because even Roman historians could not diminish his competence. They document him reluctantly. Livy acknowledges his command brilliance. Polybius analyzes his strategy in detail. Fear leaks through the prose. Centuries pass. Another distortion begins quietly. Not in Rome. In early modern Europe, scholars reframe antiquity. Africa becomes a marginalized concept. Achievement becomes geographically reassigned. Carthage is labeled Phoenician, not African, as if geography changes with interpretation, as if location becomes optional. Hannibal's identity becomes abstracted, detached from the environment, detached from the continent. Art reshapes him visually. European features replace African ones. This becomes normalized. The issue is not genetics alone. It is a historical context. Hannibal lived as an African. Carthage existed in North Africa. Its population included indigenous African peoples. Its armies relied heavily on them. Modern archaeology supports this integration. Burial practices, settlement continuity, material culture. North Africa was not isolated from Africa. That division is modern. Ancient peoples did not recognize it. Yet, colonial scholarship insisted otherwise. It needed Africa without precedent, Africa without achievement. Hannibal disrupted that construction, so he was minimized, recast, detached. Popular media followed scholarship. Films cast him incorrectly. Education simplified him. He became the general with elephants. Not the architect of Rome's reinvention, not the African commander who reshaped warfare. Meanwhile, Carthage's broader legacy vanished. Its trade networks are rarely discussed. Its engineering is understated. Carthaginian commerce reached the Atlantic coasts. It accessed sub-Saharan routes indirectly. It accumulated immense wealth. Its harbor systems were technically advanced. Its urban planning rivaled Mediterranean peers. Rome noticed this upon conquest. Roman accounts describe astonishment, not disdain, not superiority. Carthage was not primitive. It was competitive. That was the problem. The destruction was intentional. Memory control always is. Rome understood narrative power. Later, European empires understood understood it too. African history is complicated. Justifications, so it was fragmented. This pattern repeats globally. Kush in Egypt becomes foreign. Mali becomes an exaggerated myth. Timbuktu is denied. Written records become ignored. Libraries disappear. African leadership becomes framed as an anomaly. Never system. Never continuity. Hannibal is not an exception. He is evidence that endured despite suppression. His campaigns forced Rome to change doctrine, forced adaptation, forced humility. Roman fear persisted long after his death. Hannibal at the gates became shorthand for catastrophe, a cultural scar. And yet today, his name is unfamiliar, not because of insignificance, because of selective memory. History is not neutral. It is curated by survivors, often by victors. Hannibal's story exposes that mechanism clearly. An African general nearly dismantled Rome. That fact endures it, contradicts narratives of inherent hierarchy. It destabilizes simplified worldviews. It demands reconsideration. This is not about pride. It is about accuracy, about restoring continuity. African history did not begin with exploitation. It did not require validation. It produced power independently. Hannibal Barca crossed the Alps deliberately. He defeated Rome repeatedly. He remained undefeated in Italy. He forced Rome to survive him, not the other way around. That matters. Remembering him fully is not. Revision is correct. It is in alignment with the record. Hannibal Barca was African. His achievements were African. His legacy is African. Now it's time to bring it back into the